Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a truly fascinating clash. It's not just two electric vehicles going head-to-head.
Right.
It's really two tech titans. The familiar Tesla Model Y and the, well, audacious new Xiaomi SU7.
Yeah, audacious is a good word for it.
And this isn't just another car review, is it? It's about Xiaomi, the tech giant, making this bold leap into the automotive world, bringing all that smartphone DNA with them.
Exactly.
We've got this incredibly detailed review from a dynamic test drive, pitting them directly against each other. So we have a real front row seat.
And our mission here, our deep dive, it goes beyond just, reading off spec sheets. We're aiming to pull out the core insights, the driving feel, the engineering philosophy underneath it all. And crucially, Xiaomi's unique take on car tech. The big question really is, what does a phone company actually bring to the table when they build a car? What's different?
Yeah, because you might think you know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
Especially with Tesla in the mix. But as we start peeling back the layers on this comparison, I think you're going to find some genuinely surprising facts and, honestly, a totally different philosophy at play here. Get ready for a few aha moments, I think.
Definitely.
So let's dive right in. First impressions. Looking beyond just the numbers on the page. Physically, the SU7, it makes a statement right away.
It does.
It's noticeably longer, wider, and actually a bit shorter in height than the Model Y.
Yeah, it gives it that lower look.
Exactly. And that's not just for show.
Right.
It directly means more space inside, more legroom for passengers, more spacious seating overall, gives it that lower, kind of sportier profile from the outside.
But what's really striking, I thought, was how the reviewer first approached the SU7. They sort of admitted having these fast and furious expectations.
Oh, really? Like a street racer?
Yeah, exactly. They thought it would be this super aggressive sports car. But those ideas, gone almost immediately. They described it as, and this is a quote, a completely different vehicle. Almost like it was designed by a totally separate team, with a clear vision not to just clone the Model Y.
Interesting. So that suggests Xiaomi wasn't just trying to mimic Tesla. They were aiming for something else entirely.
That's what it looks like. Forging their own path, maybe prioritizing something different from the get-go.
Okay, so that leads us nicely into the heart of it, the driving dynamics. How do they actually compare on the road?
Right.
We know EVs often have, electronically adjustable steering, braking, suspension.
Sure, lots of software tweaks.
But the reviewer made a great point. The fundamentals, the car's center of gravity, the chassis itself, the structural rigidity, you can't change those with software updates.
No, those are baked in. That's the real test of the engineering.
That's the real test, exactly. So what did they find when they got behind the wheel?
Well, the SU7 feel. It was apparently quite the eye-opener, first thing. A higher seating position than you might expect.
Higher. Okay.
Yeah. And the steering wheel felt extremely light. Almost vague was the word used, especially around the center.
Vague isn't usually what you want in steering.
Not really, no. Now, on the plus side, the suspension did a great job filtering out road imperfections, bumps, and things. And the sound insulation was excellent.
Okay, so comfortable then.
Very comfortable. But all those things together kind of hinted this isn't really aiming to be a sports sedan, and the drive confirmed it.
Here we go. This is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? The hairpin turns.
Yeah, this was the big one. In tight hairpins, the SU7's tires, they started squealing at speeds as low as 40 kilometers per hour.
That's really slow for tire squeals in a modern car.
It is. And the reviewer felt the chassis and the steering were filtering out too much information from the road, almost numbing the driver's connection to what the car was actually doing.
So you couldn't feel the limits easily?
Exactly. Made it genuinely hard to, instinctively know where to turn in or how to hold a stable line through the corner. The reviewer called the performance struggling.
Wow. Struggling.
Yeah. And the conclusion was pretty stark. It would be challenging for less experienced drivers to actually drive this car fast, which is quite a statement for a new EV,
Definitely a limitation. So how does the Model Y stack up against that?
Well, it's a stark contrast, really. The Model Y immediately gives you a more driver-focused experience.
Right.
The suspension is supportive, maybe a bit firm for some, but supportive. And the steering is precise, giving you constant intuitive feedback.
So it tells you what's going on.
Constantly. And it implicitly pushes you almost to drive faster, brake later. Even if you don't have a ton of driving experience, the Model Y is apparently pretty easy to drive quickly and actually enjoy doing it.
They playfully call it an evil large mouse, don't they?
Exactly. Because it's deceptively nimble, it wants to dart around, it encourages that spirited, maybe slightly mischievous driving style. And it's very consistent with the Model 3 in terms of styling and that driving feel.
Okay, so boiling this down, what's the core insight here for us? It sounds like more than just two different cars.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fundamental clash of design philosophies. Tesla's Model Y is built for the driver. It's a performance machine, wants you to engage with it. Xiaomi's SU7, though, it seems to explicitly prioritize passenger comfort and this tech-centric, almost like a living room on wheels experience.
So it's a deliberate choice, not an accident.
Absolutely deliberate.
It's not-
Strategic choice targeting a different kind of buyer, maybe redefining what they want from a car.
Right. Okay, so why? Why these huge differences in how they feel to drive? Let's get into the reasons.
Yeah, the Y is fascinating. First off, weight. There's a big difference. The SU7 clocks in at 2.4 tons.
2.4 tons, that's heavy.
It is. It's about 400 kilograms. That's nearly 800 pounds heavier than the Model Y. That extra mass, that inertia, creates real challenges for the tires and the chassis, especially when you're trying to change direction quickly.
Makes sense. What else?
Second, the tires themselves. The SU7 they tested had narrower front tires, 245 millimeters.
Okay.
Now, that might help a bit with energy consumption, range.
Right, efficiency.
But it definitely impacts grip when you're pushing it in corners. Less rubber on the road.
Got it. And third, you mentioned something about Tesla's manufacturing.
Ah, yeah. Tesla's integrated die casting. This is a big one. They use these enormous gigapresses machines to cast the entire rear underbody as a single piece of aluminum.
Instead of welding lots of bits together.
Exactly. It replaces something like 70 different stamped and welded parts. It's not just clever engineering, it's a manufacturing revolution.
And the benefit for the driver is?
Higher structural rigidity, less weight. That translates directly into a safer car, a more agile car, one that transfers energy more directly. You feel more connected.
Okay, that makes a huge difference. Anything else contributing to the SU7's feel?
Well, there's the suggestion of intentional tuning. Think about it. Aggressive driving in a Model Y can be fun for the driver, but maybe not so much for passengers, right?
Yeah, it could be a bit jerky or intense for passengers.
So the smoother, more stable ride of the SU7, even if it means slightly delayed responses, might be a conscious choice by Xiaomi to provide a more comfortable, less jarring experience, especially for family members in the back.
Ah, so they're deliberately aiming for passenger comfort, even at the expense of sharp handling.
That seems to be the philosophy, yes.
Okay.
A different set of priorities.
Okay, so we've covered how they drive. Let's pivot now to where Xiaomi, as a tech company, really flexes its muscles.
Right. This is where their background really comes into play.
This is where that smartphone DNA should shine, right? The reviewer even started thinking of the car as like a giant tech device on wheels.
And you really see it. Take the super anti-motion sickness mode.
Okay, what does that do? Sounds interesting.
It dynamically adjusts the motor's response, how quickly it accelerates or decelerates, and the suspension based on real-time acceleration and the car's angle. The goal is to create smoother, more linear movements.
To stop people feeling sick.
Exactly. It's especially noticeable in stop-and-go traffic. Makes starts and stops less jerky, more stable. It's explicitly designed for backseat passengers, elderly people, kids.
Makes sense.
And apparently it has the side effect of making the driver seem more skilled, smoother. No more awkward lurches.
Huh. That's a nice bonus.
Yeah.
What about other tech integrations, the little things?
Oh yeah, plenty of those. Keyless entry and the trunk, for instance. The SU7 offers a completely phone-free experience. You just stand near the front trunk for a few seconds, and pop, it opens.
No button press, no phone needed.
Nope. And when you approach the driver's side, the hidden door handles retract automatically. They even thought about, people worrying about scratching the paint with their fingernails on those flush handles.
That's thoughtful. How does that work?
It uses UWB ultra-wideband technology. It's super precise, short-range wireless, much more accurate than Bluetooth, and it's deeply baked into Xiaomi's operating system, HyperOS. That's key for making these interactions seamless and low power.
HyperOS, right. Xiaomi's big ecosystem play.
Exactly. And that leads to things like the HyperOS linkage with Xiaomi smart glasses. The integration between your phone and the car is apparently incredibly strong. Video, music, navigation, it all flows seamlessly.
And the glasses.
Yeah, get this. You can apparently capture photos of the scenery while driving just by pressing a button on the glasses. Hands stay on the wheel.
Wow, okay. That's next level integration. Maybe slightly distracting, but impressive tech.
It certainly shows their philosophy. And then there's the display tech, the panoramic three-screen display or Tianqi screen.
Right, the big one that goes across the dashboard. How does that actually work? Is it projected?
It is. It's not a screen in the windshield itself. Images are projected from 3 mini LED screens hidden below up onto the windshield interface.
Mini LEDs. Wasn't the reviewer worried about that light blooming effect, that halo?
They were, initially, but apparently it's virtually invisible on the reflected image. Xiaomi uses some clever optical film and has really tight control over the content and the backlight.
So it works well.
It seems so. It avoids the technical headaches of putting a screen directly in the glass, and it offers clear visibility in different lighting. It really shows Xiaomi's dedication to, polished design. It does have limits, though it's apparently quite narrow vertically, so sometimes you still need to glance down for navigation details.
Okay, still an innovative approach, though. What about voice control? That's usually a big tech focus.
Huge focus for Xiaomi, as you'd expect. The system has speaker recognition and location awareness. It knows who is speaking and where they are in the car.
So it can tailor the response.
Precisely. If the front passenger says, "I'm cold," it adjusts their climate zone. If someone in the back asks to play a video, the audio goes to the rear speakers only.
That's pretty smart.
It uses multiple microphones, even external ones, for 360-degree recognition. Plus, security stuff like voice print ID and linking it to your digital key, so you could literally be in the back seat and say, "Shall I am a bit warm," and it fixes the temperature just for you.
That's impressive. Almost sci-fi level convenience, like you said earlier.
And just to zoom out for a sec, other brands like Li Auto or Neo, they have good voice control too.
Sure.
But the review noted Xiaomi's system felt particularly meticulous, really linking the location, the voice recognition, and the specific action in a very seamless, personalized way. It's not just hearing you, it's understanding the context.
Okay, that's a clear tech advantage. Any other cool tech features? What about that sunroof?
Ah, yes, the chemical sunroof.
Yeah.
It's an electrochromic panoramic roof.
Electrochromic.
Yeah.
Meaning it changes tint electronically.
Exactly.
All right.
It uses a special dye-based material that changes how much light passes through. The key thing Xiaomi claims is that it stays crystal clear even when it's darkened, avoiding that slightly foggy look some other electrochromic glass can get.
And you can adjust the brightness.
Continuously, stepless adjustment, not just preset levels. Takes about 3 minutes for the full transition from clear to dark.
Which is a big contrast to the Model Y roof, right? That's
Right.
just tinted glass.
Right, the Model Y roof is fixed. It's tinted, but you can't adjust it. You rely on the AC to manage the heat. So the Xiaomi roof is definitely a step up in terms of customizable comfort.
Definitely. And what about the chip powering all this tech?
Yeah, this is interesting for the tech heads listening. The SU7 uses a modified Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip.
Isn't that like a top-tier smartphone chip?
Exactly.
Huh.
The latest flagship phones use it, and here it's adapted for automotive use vehicle-grade certification. It delivers about twice the performance of other common high-end car chips like the Snapdragon 8295P.
So the interface should be super smooth, lots of power for future updates.
That's the idea. Super smooth, future-proofed. Now, Tesla has historically used consumer-grade chips too, often from Intel or AMD, but Xiaomi going with the absolute latest mobile chip but vehicle-certified, it might signal a trend. Adapting cutting-edge consumer tech for cars, focusing on stability and durability, maybe even reducing wiring and latency. It's bringing that high-end mobile performance right into the dashboard.
Very interesting. Okay, let's move towards the wrap-up. Autonomous driving and the overall verdict. How does the SU7 stack up on the self-driving front? The hardware sounds impressive.
The hardware list is definitely impressive. NVIDIA chips adding up to 700 TOPS.
Which is trillions of operations per second. Massive computing power.
Massive. Plus LiDAR, 4D millimeter wave radar, loads of cameras, ultrasonic sensors. It's packed with sensors.
So the hardware's there. What about the software, the brains?
Xiaomi's approach is described as vision dominant, but enhanced by LiDAR fusion. So cameras are primary, LiDAR helps confirm and add detail. They use a bird's eye view perspective combined with a transformer-based core architecture.
Transformer like the AI model.
Exactly, like the AI tech behind things like ChatGPT. It's a very advanced neural network approach for processing sensor data. They also have their own self-developed modules for predicting behavior and planning the car's path. And it's all powered by this massive 10 million clip-trained end-to-end large model.
Okay, translating that. So like a super smart AI brain trained on millions of real driving situations.
That's a good way to put it. designed to understand complex scenarios and plan movements. Interestingly, the reviewer noted this whole approach is very similar to Tesla's technology roadmap.
So following a similar path to Tesla, but with maybe different sensors like LiDAR.
Seems like it. Though the actual highly automated driving system, the HAD, wasn't fully tested in this particular review, the underlying strategy seems clear and robust.
Okay, so pulling it all together, how did the reviewer ultimately see Xiaomi and the SU7?
They offered this really neat threefold perspective. First, looking at Xiaomi purely as a new car brand,
Okay.
they found them surprisingly sophisticated in tuning the driving feel and chassis, even better than some traditional manufacturers, which is high praise. But the big caveat, clearly prioritizing ride comfort over sportiness.
Right, that came through loud and clear. Second perspective.
As a phone manufacturer entering the car space, here they were seen as masterful, leveraging their ecosystem, blending phone tech and car tech seamlessly. A real lesson there for the traditional automakers,
Makes
perhaps.
sense. And the third.
As an innovative tech company. And here, the reviewer expressed a bit of disappointment.
Oh, why?
They felt that while Xiaomi has definitely caught up to the mainstream level, especially with the tech features we discussed, the autonomous driving innovation didn't quite meet their personal expectations,
Okay.
especially when compared directly to where Tesla's pushing the envelope.
So, sophisticated car, great tech integration, but maybe not quite leading edge on the autonomy front yet.
That was the takeaway, yeah. Which ultimately just powerfully emphasizes how diverse people's needs and expectations for cars are becoming, doesn't it?
It really does.
This whole deep dive just highlights Xiaomi's very clear, very strategic choices. They're carving out their own specific niche. They're not just trying to be another Tesla. They're trying to be perhaps the ultimate tech device that you can also drive.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So the big takeaway here for you listening is the SU7 isn't just a Model Y copycat.
Nope.
Not at all. It's a vehicle with a really distinct philosophy. It's prioritizing passenger comfort, seamless tech integration, all stemming directly from Xiaomi's roots in the mobile world. It's a completely different flavor of EV.
And understanding those deliberate choices, that different philosophy, it really